1 month, 51 fixtures, 24 teams, high intensity games, unparalleled excitement. All of this came down to one single fixture, the final of Euro 2020. So, guys, welcome to the Fall 6 review of the Euro 2020 finals. I'm your host, Akarsh, and today we've got Gyan, a guy who's getting increasingly popular for his unpopular opinions, and Jay, who's probably the only guy who still gives a damn about La Liga. So, guys, let's head right into it. Italy were victors in this face off, but it wasn't an easy task. England gave the Azzurri an early scare by that early Luke Shaw goal, but a Bonucci equalizer in the second half took the game to extra time. And after that, as we all know, there were penalties, wherein it's really anybody's game. So, Gyan, what were your initial thoughts on the game, and especially about the back five that Southgate decided to play against the Italians?
So initially, I thought it was definitely going to come home, and might I say, a brilliant cross from brilliant goal from Luke Shaw. They were smart playing with the back five, and it really seemed to work out in the first half with Kieran Trippier and Luke Shaw performing really well at the wing with Trippier putting a really good cross for Luke Shaw to bang it home. But I think after the second half, I think that changed when Italy came back with a bang, and I think it was too much for England in the end.
Jai, what about you? Do you support the decision of having a back five?
I absolutely don't, because I think even in the last video I said that I don't think England should change their approach. They should just stick with the four and just stick with that attacking mentality. And I think that's what they lacked even after scoring the goal. They lacked it. They lacked that extra pressure. I mean, Trippier is a good offensive fullback, but not as good as a player like Sancho or Saka. So I think he's somewhere just accepted that I'm going to sit back and defend with the back three.
I think, Jay, your opinion in the initial 2-3 minutes would have probably, been opposed a lot. But I agree with you completely. After that initial goal, especially the fact that England only had two people in their midfield, that middle three of Italy just dominated the midfield, and I think that was a really influential point. So moving on, we've all spoken about Luke Shaw. We all know that there's a lot of United fans that join us for every video. Gyan being one of them, who's pretty boldly drawn parallels between Luke Shaw and Roberto Carlos. Gyan, I'm pretty sure your heart would have exploded seeing that quality finish by Luke Shaw in the opening minutes of the game. What was your reaction to the goal?
So I was like jumping up with joy. I really love Luke Shaw. I think he's a really good player, and I mean to see him scoring, I was just ecstatic. I mean he's a really good player and an incredible finish by the way. And to get your first goal in the final of a major tournament is not a is really good also. So I mean he's a good player. There's a lot to come from him in the coming years.
Certainly,
I
let go on.
I think what needs to be praised is the comeback which Luke Shaw has given. I mean, if Euros would have happened last year, I don't think he would have come in the England starting lineup. And but it was just a blessing in disguise for Luke Shaw. It happened here, happened this year, and he just shocked everyone.
I agree. I mean, probably Ben Chilwell would have started last year, but that's changed this year because of Luke Shaw's performance. Let's hope he doesn't come back to the Premier League and has have such great finishes. Jay, we spoke about the initial goal, the initial Luke Shaw goal. It obviously gave the Azzurri a really big scare because no one ever expected. I mean, I turned my TV on and the first thing I saw was Luke Shaw celebrating. I was thinking, oh, wait, am I watching the highlights of a previous game or something? But I was completely shocked, and I'm sure everyone watching the game was. But let's talk about after the first goal. What do you think the game was like after that initial goal by Luke Shaw?
As you said, yeah, everyone was shocked by the Luke Shaw goal. I mean, when I put my TV on, I didn't even see the goal live. I was just like 1-0 out. It's just 1-0 so early. But yeah, I think what changed was Gareth Southgate's mentality and the English team's mentality as a whole. I won't blame the players here. I think here the manager is decisive over here at this point. That if you have a lead, please don't just sit back. I mean, after that lead, Italy had 70% possession. They finished the match with 65, and it was just sad to see the attacking threats England have, and them sitting back. I mean, it doesn't match for the team you have.
I agree. Initially, after the first goal went, there were a few moments wherein that back three option with the two wing backs really seemed effective because Trippier and Shaw were finding great pockets of space. But slowly, as I mentioned, the trio of Italian midfielders just dominated the game. Even Chiellini was just strolling into the opposition half, like there was absolutely no pressure on him. So yeah, I mean, I agree that after that first goal, it was all Italy. Uh, we spoke about the Italian pressure, but they didn't really have a lot to show in the first half. They did have a bulk of possession. There weren't too many chances created. All of that changed though in the second half when Bonucci, probably got out all his predatory instincts of a proper number 9 and tapped in, expected where the ball would go and tapped in from point blank range. So again, views on the Bonucci goal.
So it was an inviting cross from I think Chiesa, was it? And Bonucci was just there at the right place at the right time to like finish it off. Pickford, you can't blame Pickford in that position as he really tried to get a hold of it and he was caught off guard with Bonucci coming in at the rebound. But I think Italy deserved that goal as they were piling on the pressure. And it's very difficult to breach a defense as tight as England. I mean, they've only conceded one goal this tournament. And I think Bonucci is a centre back who has finishing qualities in him, and he definitely showed it over there.
Certainly, on the night, England did lose. England did lose the final. But now that I'm looking back at it, the only two goals that England have conceded in this tournament have been both from set pieces. So that is, I mean, that's really commendable because open play. If you're not conceding from open play, that's just a great achievement. But that goal was just it came out of nowhere. The Italians did look dangerous through Federico Chiesa, but other than that, it wasn't like they had a lot of crystal clear chances. But just one flick on by the substitute Cristante, and everything just changed. That's just how it goes in football. Moving on, Jay, after that Bonucci goal, do you think that anything changed with the Italian perspective, how they approach the game? Did they want to probably see it out to extra time? What were your views on that?
I think they did hold back a little because they had the comfort after the goal. They were 1-1, and it was the 67th minute. And for the next 20 minutes, I think Italy was just patient. I mean, Chiellini was going ahead, distributing the balls. I mean, Bonucci and Chiellini, they're just throwing the passes around. They were building it from the back, and they were patiently building and building and building. After Berardi came on and after Bernardeschi came on, Italy did look cautious and they did look a bit careful. But I think England was just absorbing and they didn't have any threats because England was just not attacking. I mean, Harry Kane was just sitting on the left. There's no movement from England. I think Italy were comfortable. They were confident. They were more confident going to the extra time, which gave them the win.
Personal review, I think after that Bonucci goal, the game just slowed down a bit. There wasn't too much happening. Even going after the 90 minutes, even extra time, more or less, it could almost be seen that both teams really want to get to the penalties because I don't know if it was fatigue because of a really hectic campaign, but it was showing that they just want to see it out till the 120th minute. But let's now that we're talking, you spoke about Bonucci and Chiellini just spraying passes. We got a really interesting stat here. Bonucci actually, I mean, he did win the man of the match in this game, but he completed the most passes in the game. That's a really surprising stat considering you got people like Jorginho, Verratti right in front of you. Bonucci completed 117 passes. Chiellini completed 111 passes. Even during the game, Harry Kane lost 10 aerial duels, a majority of them to the two Italian centre backs. And all in all, it was just a proper masterclass put on by the two veterans, barring just like, the pullback probably that Chiellini had on Saka, which was, truly agricultural. But he that was a tactical foul. That was a good yellow card to take for your team. But other than that, they seemed solid, like they did last in the last game too. So Gyan, what were your views on another solid performance by Bonucci and Chiellini?
I personally think that this partnership could go down as one of the best defensive partnerships in history. The amount of time they've spent together as a centre back pairing is too much, and the quality they both have is just on display is just really incredible. Chiellini, according to me, is one of the most complete defenders, centre backs, and he definitely showed it in the final. I think Bonucci is the one who likes to get forward, and they both complement each other so well in such a way that they can get the clean sheet and help out their team forward and in defense. I don't know. I think this was just. I think it was a good performance.
I agree. I mean, the as you mentioned, the chemistry that they've played for so many years in the Italian side and obviously domestically too with Juventus. That chemistry of knowing when to go back, knowing who's staying back, it's just perfect. And it's going to be sad that I won't probably be able to see them a lot more at international tournaments, but that's how it goes.
I read
Talking
a
about
it said that Chiellini said that he spent so much time with Bonucci that he knows more about Bonucci than his wife. It's very funny and shocking.
I couldn't believe that one. Yeah.
the same thing happened with one of the Brazilian pairs too. I think it was Ronaldo and Roberto Carlos. I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
but
I think
Something like that. Yeah. But I think
it's
what Gyan said was actually true. This duo is going to go down in history. I mean, there's players like Maldini, Nesta, and Puyol, PK, Ramos, Pepe, and I think this has to be talked about because they've been playing together for like more than a decade. This has to be talked about.
certainly, as Jose Mourinho mentioned, Chiellini and Bonucci could probably teach a class of defending at Harvard College. We're talking about Italian players. Let's talk about another live wire that the Italians had with them. That's Federico Chiesa. He's been really impressive, especially in the post-group stages, in the knockout stages especially. And even in this game, in the first half and probably the start of second half, Italy did have the bulk of possession, as I mentioned, but they weren't creating too many chances. Federico Chiesa, his dribbling seemed like the only probable option they had of scoring. So, Jai, what were your views on Federico Chiesa's brilliant performance in the final?
I think, as you said, that even Italy didn't have like crystal clear chances, but what kept England on their toes was Chiesa. I mean, until the last minute, until he played, he got injured, which is sad to see. But I think until he played, he just kept Maguire and Stones on their toes. I mean, the run which he's taken past before he got injured. I mean, those things. His pace just kept England on their toes. Even Kyle Walker was a bit afraid of going head to head with Chiesa. So I think that's what kept them on their toes, and then Italy was just comfortable. So Chiesa was a very big threat throughout the knockout stages.
Follow-up question for that. Do you think if Chiesa actually stayed on for the whole 120, we'd probably have a more exciting extra time period?
100%, because he's never out of gas. He's like always running, and he's ready to like take the first words from the manager. He'll listen. He has no ego at all, and he just run like a dog on the field. So and he was the one who's keeping the match alive, I believe. And I think it would have been much more interesting. Maybe Italy would have won before the penalties.
We'll never know, I guess. But after the 120 minutes, it clearly looked like Italy had dominated the game. 19 shots, 6 shots on target, 66% of the ball, 820 passes, out of which almost 25% were done by the Italian centre backs, which clearly shows that there was no pressure on them and they could just easily go around distributing. Even in the game, you could see Chiellini strolling into the opposition half, Bonucci in extra time just trying to get Belotti involved with his target man like instincts. So all in all, we probably we can all agree that England didn't seem like they stepped up on the night, and this performance by Italy was completely different from the one against Spain, and it is just beautiful to see the various versions one team and one set of players can have. So that was just a great thing to see. But let's discuss about the key instrumental factor or the key deciding factor in the entire game, which were the penalty shootouts. Um, it was sad. Southgate got on Rashford and Sancho, especially for the penalties, but that decision probably didn't turn out as well. Uh, let's keep that for y'all. Gyan, start us off. How did the penalties pan out for you?
So I think it was not a great managerial decision to bring on Rashford and Sancho for the penalties. I mean, it was a 50-50. You can never know really if a player is going to score his penalties. So, but I think Rashford and Sancho normally tend to score their penalties. So you have to give Southgate that at least. I think both the lads lacked confidence when they were taking that shot. Rashford definitely lacked confidence, as he mentioned in his latest Instagram post. Also calling out or also apologizing to all the England fans and players, which is really respectable of him. I don't think it was a great decision in hindsight. And I've heard that Gareth Southgate decides who takes the penalties. And I mean, there were more experienced players like Jack Grealish or Sterling who could have done a much better job than 19-year-old Bukayo Saka and inexperienced players like Jadon Sancho. And Rashford, I wouldn't call him inexperienced, but he definitely lacked confidence on that night.
I think this was the one thing I just want to rant upon, because what Southgate did was horrendous. I mean, if you look at that penalty was like the second touch of Rashford in the entire game. Sancho's penalty was his first touch in the entire game. I mean, on the other hand, look at Mancini. He's brought on Berardi and Benedeschi so early on. They're warmed up, they're heated up, and they're ready to take the penalty. I mean, what I remember as a Barca fan, I don't like to say this, but the one thing which I like to see about Real Madrid was the way they take penalties. I mean, any player you give any player, they just walk and I'll take the penalty and they used to score. I mean, that should be the attitude. And on the other hand, Gareth Southgate, he has just brought on two players who have not played the entire tournament. Rashford, I don't think you have even seen them in this tournament. I mean, that doesn't work. There was Grealish on the pitch, there was Sterling on the pitch, there was Luke Shaw on the pitch, and you give penalties to these players who haven't even played. They are young, they've got no experience. It's just sad to see and very immature from Gareth Southgate. Very, very immature.
I think you got a valid point. I'm kind of on the fence here. Considering there was only a few minutes left, I probably endorse that decision, because I've seen Rashford taking penalties at least pre-Bruno, that great penalty against PSG in the CL. So yeah, I did expect at least Rashford to score. I've not seen a lot of Sancho penalty taking, but at least Rashford, I expected him to probably blast it into the back of the net. I really didn't get that weird stuttered run up waiting. When you got a man mountain like Donnarumma in front of you, I mean, if you wait and you're wanting him to commit, that's a big error. And talking about Bukayo Saka, I mean, Rio Ferdinand was actually discussing this on one of the other channels, that probably the gaffers seen Bukayo Saka take penalties in training, and that's why he probably, pushed him up the list. But I think the whole point of penalties, it's obviously an art. The penalty taking is an art in itself, but you can't practice that on training grounds without the crowd. I mean, the crowd, the tension of the final, that's what makes it what it is. So I'm not saying Bukayo Saka can't do it, but I just feel that considering people like Grealish in his tweet mentioned that he put his hand up to go ahead and take penalties. Sterling has taken penalties. He's taken a penalty against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup final, blasted it into the top of the net. So I don't know. I feel there were better penalty takers. Weird decision according to me too.
Agreed, 100%. I mean, look, when I saw the Italian team coming out, I mean, there was Bonucci. He's a cold-blooded guy. I mean, there's Donnarumma. He's a cold-blooded guy. He didn't celebrate when they won. He was just standing and looking around. They were so confident when they came out, except Belotti. I think all the players were so confident when they took the penalties, including Jorginho, even though he missed. But I think that's what England need to learn. I mean, they still have a young squad. There's a World Cup coming. I think they still can improve.
I think they lacked experience overall. Italy's experience definitely paid off the final moment. But if you're talking about quality-wise, England were equal or more, I would say. Just experience lacked within their squad.
Totally. Fun fact about the Donnarumma not celebrating thing, he actually didn't know that they won. He thought that, I mean, they're probably going into sudden death,
Yeah.
but that was just a very funny snippet that I actually came across recently. So yeah, I mean, those were the penalties, and as it goes, England lost on the day. It didn't come home. It actually went to Rome. Uh, all in all, exciting game. I was really pleased it went to penalties, but I probably after the equalizer, the game wasn't as exciting. Would have liked a more exhilarating game, but I think it was a satisfying game overall and a great way to cap a really wonderful tournament. So guys, that's it from our end. Uh, we hope you keep watching our content. Thank you for sticking around and watching all our videos. Thank you for bearing our weird and unpopular opinions and just unfunny stuff. Thank you for sticking around, and till next time, goodbye and keep watching our content.